Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Star Trek New Worlds, where the future is so bright, you gotta wear shades. Hi. Thank you for joining us live here on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. And if you're catching us on the replay, then thanks for taking the time. You're probably wondering what Star Trek New Worlds is, and Tony, why are you really wearing sunglasses? Well, first question first. Star Trek New Worlds is a turn-based strategy game that we play here online with you, and we bring it to you on Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube, as I just said. We're bringing it to you, or playing it rather, with the rules as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau, and we show you the wonderful map brought to you via Vassal. The shades today are all in celebration of it's summertime, ladies and gentlemen, and instead of the hot coffee, I tried to ice it, but the ice melted, and I'm trying to be all festive here in solidarity with all those folks around the world who are experiencing crazy heat waves, like we are here right now. If I wasn't wearing this more summery shirt and have all the windows open, I would be a ball of sweat. So, celebration, good summertime fun to you. And there's the caffeine. Before I get started, I just want to send out a huge hurrah and whoop whoop to our GM, Daniel, for this week's turn. As is in the description, it was right down to the wire, and I literally got the turn within the hour because there was so much going on, and you're going to see some exciting stuff. And I've had multiple iterations of the map as we've sort of found a couple of mistakes here and there and everywhere because it's happening so fast-paced. So exciting stuff. I'm going to pop these off. Woo-hoo! And, oh my God, I'm sweating already. Thanks for getting us up to double digits as we speak. And let me dive into the chat real quick. Oh my goodness gracious me. So, Eugene, our channel public affairs officer and press agent, is saying, this week's wait is nearly over. Popcorn is popping, tea is brewing, butter melting. What will we learn this week? Will that stable warp signature be explored? Which empire will honor the Carney frigate sacrifice and send even an old W-era frigate to find the borders of Juggy space? What was that bug? Have the Tholians retrieved that captured Riemann ship through the wormhole or used in a surprise attack bonus? Have the Klingons made it to the next tech level? Are they more than even match for the Juggies? Did they exploit any technology gains from the recent battles? Too many questions. Proceed with the show. Well, Eugene, thank you for that was so much. Thank you very much for what's going on. That's awesome. Daniel, pew pew. Bill Linton is in the house. John Tenbroke, thank you for joining us. Welcome back again. Klingon future is so bright you got to wear shades. Yes, indeed it is. We'll get to that. Hi, all pew pew fun this week from Paul. Bill in the house. Shenanigan, guns, and full shields. Up, warp turn paid for. Buttered popcorn, cannons loaded, and Dell. Shades do you no good in the darkness. Hi all. All right. Well, thank you everybody, and welcome to. I want to quickly give a shout out to Michael Sexton, our most recent subscriber. Thank you for helping us get to now over 250. We are just past the halfway point to our goal of 500 subscribers so that we can unlock the community tab here on YouTube. So if you're catching us and you're saying, oh, all things Star Trek, is that something I'd be interested in? Then please feel free to consider hitting that subscribe button and helping us get to the 500 mark, where we can unlock some more features, some more fun that we can send you your way here on YouTube. If you are more of the caffeinated variety and you care to support us in that way, then feel free to take advantage of that QR code. Pop your phone up against the screen, or that link that you see down below there over to coffee. You can either do a one-time coffee donation, or you can grab onto any of those tiers there, the highest of which allows you to join us on our Discord channel, where we'll have a candid conversation or two, a little witty banter. After this is over, we'll be talking about all the shenanigans that happened, and did I get it all right? All right, so with that said, a very exciting galactic news update today, and I have a little something different. This is my beta test as we go, so you let me know what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, It is the Galactic News. Oh, that music is, yeah, okay. Hold on, let me restart that. I want it to sound right. Give me 1 second. That was not the exciting music intro that I was hoping for. I was trying to do this all last minute. Let's see how this works. Okay, one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Galactic News. Battles rage around Hydrax. 3 major battles have taken place in the space over and near Hydrax. Southern Alliance forces managed to push back the enemy and briefly seize all 3 planets before the ISC counterattacked, managed to regain the worlds. An ISC battle that was nearing An ISC base that was nearing construction was scuttled. The most massive battle in this offensive took place in Sector XX-28, where no fewer than 5, count them, 5 dreadnoughts participated in heavy fighting. Losses on both sides are heavy. Energy drink? A Lyran cruiser went to investigate the monster in the northern corridor. While the ship was wrecked, in the process, it did manage to identify the creature as an energy monster. These oddities of science are so volatile that no fleet, without special scout sensors, is able to attune their weapons properly in order to dispatch it. Official sources within the Lyran government say the appropriate forces will stop the creature long before any citizens are threatened. Piecemeal talks? Our sources have uncovered rumors that secret peace meetings are taking place in the East. These sources claim that the Hyrdran-backed channels have reached out to the ISC-Raymond Alliance in order to settle a separate peace, leaving the Carnivons to twist in the wind. Have the Carnivons gotten themselves a piece of the action with their alliance? Or are they about to eat the whole pie? Conquest of the Peaceniks? Protests against the ongoing war on planet Zoid within Carnivon space erupted in all-out rebellion. Anti-war forces stormed and took the administration building and established the Zoid Free Navy by arming a freighter with captured weaponry. Will the Carnivons respect the wishes of the planet to forge its own destiny? My magic 8-ball tells me don't count on it. The next generation. According to Kanye's Book of Warships, the Klingon Empire has unveiled a new cruiser at the very cutting edge of technology. This new D6 class is said to be a match for many earlier models of Dreadnought, rendering all previous warships obsolete. Will the rest of the galaxy be able to keep up with this technological wonder? Or do you believe the Klingons are the future? Peekaboo, a massive derelict discovered in Gorn space turned out to be an Orion trap. The cruiser sent to bring the Hulk back to the homeworld for study was caught in a massive explosion as the derelict detonated, followed by an attack by a cloaked Orion cruiser. Only the clever actions of the brave captain managed to extricate the ship from this dire situation and retreat before utter destruction. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was your Galactic News. All right, so what did you think about that? A work in progress, shall we say. Yes. So, very exciting. Let me take a quick sip of my caffeination persuasion. I don't know if this straw is working for me, but cheers, everybody. All right, so there was a lot in there, and like I said, I just got the map before we got started, so I haven't seen it yet either. Shall we dive in? All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the map. Wow. Bam! New donation from someone. Maybe it's those Orion cloaked folks in the in the shadows out there. Thank you very much for anybody and everybody offering that donation, whoever that somebody is. Thank you very much. Cheers to you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we have here? Let's zoom in and get a little bit more action, Jackson. Wow. All right. Whoop, wrong way. So, can you tell something happened over there? Oh my goodness gracious me. Now, I did get a picture of the battle report from the GM, but let's do a quick recap on what we heard in the galactic news. So we heard about the battle that raged around the Hyrdran homeworld. So let's just take away the ships real quick and see what's going on here. So at the end of the day, we can see that the ISC still retain ownership of the capital system. They still have all the resources in and around this area. And arguably the border hasn't changed that much. However, let's dive a little deeper and see what is going on because, wow, look at all this business here. Okay, so before I explain all these ships, let's talk about the actual battle itself. Now, the composition of the fleets was crazy. The Hydrans, get ready for this, had 2 dreadnoughts, 7 Y-era command cruisers, one of them, an additional one being crippled. So 8 total, 1 crippled. 8 Vols, 3 of them crippled, and 3 Triad teams. The Carnivon forces had a dreadnought, a command cruiser, 2 of their drone bombardment cruisers, 2 YCAs, 2 drone bombardment destroyers, 2 destroyers, and 5 frigates with 2 of their prime teams. The ISC forces in defense had a total of 2, magic number, dreadnoughts and 2 command cruisers. They had 3 Y-era CAs, 18 YCLs, 1 additional one being crippled, so 19 total. 5 dreadnoughts, 2 additional dreadnoughts crippled, and 3 prime teams. As well, the ISC hired 2 Orion pirates in YLRs to support them. Wow. I have a picture because our GM sort of processes all this stuff on paper to keep track, and I have a picture of it, but I didn't have time to get it ready for showing you. But to give you a sense, that is a total, as far as ship to ship, there are 35 ships on the ISC side, and I think I counted 42 on the Hyrdran Carnivon side. So it is by far, light years, the biggest, baddest battle that we have seen in the game so far. Now, interesting to note, it happened in X-ray, what was it, 28, I believe? Yes, X-ray 28. So that is right here on this resource. Interesting to note, it's still an ISC resource. So we can deduce from this that in that battle, the ISC were victorious. They held their ground, and the Hyrdran Carnivon Alliance needed to retreat in order to move forward. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a pause and catch up on our EP and fleet caps so we can see what is going on. All right, I'm going to put this over my head so it might be a little bit easier to see and just expand this ever so slightly. There we go. All right. All right, so let's go down the clock when it comes to the money. Ladies and gentlemen, the Carnivon are at 44.5 EP. That's a 0.5 increase from the last time we checked in with them. The Federation are at 46.5 for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but they are now bigger, badder, and better economy than the Carnivons. The Gorn, wait for it, 48. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, taking it to the next level. The Gorn continuing to grind it out, making progress. Here we go. The Hydrans are at 9, officially single-digit economy. That is interesting. The ISC are at 46.5. The Klingon Empire at an even 52. The Lyrans at 40.5. The Remans, 52.5. The Romulans at 43. And the Tholians, 52.5. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 factions. 52.5 for the Tholians, 52.5 for the Remans, 52 for the Klingons. 3 factions around 52. When we go to the next tier, as far as general income, we've got the Gorn at 48. Bump it down to the ISC at 46.5 and the Federation also at 46.5. Then the Carnivon at 44.5 and the Lyrans at 40.5. Am I missing anybody there? We've got the Tholians, the Remans, the Lyrans, the Klingons, the ISC. Yeah, I think that's everybody. So you can definitely see this stratification in income. Let me just 2 seconds. I'm going to close that window because, man, the traffic is loud. As I said, it is summertime, and ladies, folks out here do enjoy their Harley Davidsons, and they love going by my house, revving and roaring. So it gets a little loud, as we can tell. If I start to sweat, you know it's getting hot because it's summertime, baby. All right, so we were talking about the economies in the game. Like I said, we've got this stratification that's occurring. We have a definite group that is above the 50 mark. There's another group that's just below the 50 mark, but between 45 and 50. And then another tier in the 45 and under category. So it's all, in the grand scheme of things during peacetime, it all comes out in the wash. It's not that big a difference. However, when it really comes out is when you're at war. And of course, we have 4 different economies at war right now. 5 potentially. We have the Remans. We have the ISC, the Northern Alliance. We have the Hydrans, and we have the Carnivon, which are the Southern Alliance. I believe the Tholians would still be at war, potentially. I think so. And if they're still at war, that's a 5th economy at war in this game. They are the largest economy, tied with the Remans at 52.5. So 2 of the biggest economies of the game are at war. And they are, well, and the Remans and the ISC being, 46.5, they are at war with 2 economies that are arguably some of the smallest in the game. Certainly the Hydrans are at this point, but the Carnivon are at 44.5. So that difference between 46.5 and 44.5, not too much. Excuse me, but that's a repair of a ship. And 52.5 and 52.5 and 44.5 is quite a difference, especially when that's another cruiser that you could build and get out in the wild. So that can compound over time, and that can make a big difference. Now, one of the things that we know is that these various alliances, the Northern and the Southern Alliance, are also pushing up on war exhaustion. So what does that mean? Let me come back here real quick. So in our game, you can't maintain a wartime economy forever. In previous iterations of this game, it was a non-issue. We just always had war economy. But now we have these different tiers. And so basically what that looks like is that you can have, actually I'm going to pull up the sheet so you can see it, and it would be easiest to go. So what happens is you have 20 turns of war that you can accumulate. Every turn you're at war, you earn yourself a war turn. As the turns, can I zoom in on this? Yes, I can. As the war turns accumulate, things start to happen. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the early years player info, one of the tabs in the early players info spreadsheet that we have. You can see on the far right of the screen over here, you've got this little table: peace, limited war, war, exhaustion, collapse, unrest, and anarchy. These are the tiers that we're dealing with. So when you're at peace, you have you don't accumulate when you don't have any war turns. Your economy is 50%. In the sense of you have a gross of, in this case, 52.5 for the Remans, let's say, and they get half of that as spendable income. As a bonus, you get a +1 attitude for all your Diplo rolls when it comes to things like improving planetary attitude. That's turning the planets from hating you to liking you, and things like that. And that comes with economic benefits depending on the size of the planet. Limited war. In limited war, you have, again, you don't accumulate any war turns, but you get 75% of your gross income. No attitudinal adjustment when it comes to your diplomatic roles. Once you get to wartime, that's when things start to change. Now, when you start at war, you don't need any war turns to be at war, and you get 100% of your economy. Again, no changes or adjustments on your diplomatic no attitude adjustments to your diplomatic roles. Once we get over 20 turns, you officially enter exhaustion. And when you enter exhaustion, you start reverting back to some earlier stages here. You only get 75% of your gross income. 75% of the gross income and a -1 adjustment on the attitude rules for all your diplomatic work that you're doing. Once you cross the 30-turn threshold and you enter into collapse, your economy is no longer able to truly support your war effort, and you cut down to a 50% econ. So you're only getting 50% of your gross, and you now have a -2 adjustment to all your diplomatic roles. Once you hit the 40 mark, 40 turns plus at war, we're officially in unrest territory. Your people don't like you, and you get a -5 attitude adjustment with only 40% of your income coming in as being spendable income. And then once you pass the 50-turn mark, you are officially in anarchy. You only get 30% of your gross income, and you have a -10 adjustment. Now, one thing to note, once we hit unrest and anarchy, once you get past 40, you have adjustments when it comes to pirates, raiders, and potentially the mutiny of your planets. In unrest, which is over 40 turns, that happens ×2. Now, normally these are random events that can occur in the game, but they're going to happen twice as often or be twice as likely to occur when you're over 40 turns at war. Once you top out at 50 plus, that's ×3, and things get really real, you might say. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about war turns and war exhaustion. Again, for every turn that you're at war, you accumulate 1 war turn. For every turn that you are in peace, or at peace rather, you work off half a war turn. You can only work off or recover from war turns while at peace, not during limited war or any other state, only at peace. So, interesting. Another thing to consider, once you've passed the exhaustion, collapse, anarchy, once you've reached any kind of punitive level of wartime economy, that will also impact you once you go to peace. So it becomes a compounded effect. For example, if you had gone into exhaustion and you were suffering a 75% hit on your spendable income, then cut that in half, essentially 32.5% of your income is then, 37.5% of your income would be spendable. So it becomes a compounding effect as things go on. So not only is the accumulation and going past exhaustion, collapse, unrest, anarchy going to be bad, but when you start to recover from it, it takes you twice as long to recover from these things, but that recovery phase is also going to be sort of economically punitive as well, if that all makes sense. So let's return to the map and see what we're talking about when it comes to that. You've got 5 different factions at war. At least 4 of them are, well, at least 3 of them are potentially in and around war exhaustion. I can confirm for you that the Hyrdran Empire is officially in exhaustion. So they are in that zone. It is very likely that the ISC, potentially the Remans, are also approaching, if not already in exhaustion. So these are things to think about. So that's economy. Let's talk about ships. Let's go to the fleet cap. So we were talking about the big battles that just occurred, let's see if we can notice any big changes in the fleet numbers or the ship equivalents and their attack and defense factors, shall we? Let's go to the Carnivon with total of 95, getting close to that triple digits. 95 total ships. They have a 221 attack factor, 378 defense factor with a total fleet cap of 412. Why is that important? Your defense factor, as it's the attack and defense factor, represents the ships you currently have on the line. The fleet cap number is what it would look like if you had all your defense factors non-crippled. And so there's other factors in there as far as like other ships that can be included there, but essentially 412 is the fleet cap number. And you can see there's quite a difference between 412 and 378, indicating there are quite a few crippled ships. The Federation has 62 ship equivalents with a 164-258 split. Interesting. The Gorn at 52, 10 ships less, they are at 108-214. And you'll notice the difference between their 214 defense factor and their 216 fleet cap, very, very minimal. The Hyrdrans still have 63 ships in the fight with a total attack of 136, defense 239. Notice their fleet cap is about 20 difference between 239 for their defense factors and the fleet cap at 259. So obviously they have more than a few cripples out there. The ISC with 91 ship equivalents. This is interesting. 255 attack factor, 376, and you can see 431 is their fleet cap. The Klingons have 63 ship equivalents, 163 attack, 258 defense, with a 282 total fleet cap. The Lyrans at 56 ship equivalents at 133, 260. The Remans, their big number, 133, 395. Oh my God, they're getting close to 400. 395 attack factor, 517 defense, with a 525 in fleet cap. Wow. Okay, the Romulans at 57 ship equivalents with a 154. 250 split, and the Tholians rounding us out with 60 ship equivalents, 90 attack, 237 defense. So very interesting to see. There is 3 tiers, shall we say. We have the Remans, which are in a stratosphere unto themselves. 133 ship equivalents with attack and defense factors that, wow. Their attack factors, by example, are... their total attack factor at 395 is greater than the total defense factor of the Carnivon fleet en masse. 378 is their defense factor for the Carnivon. 395 is the attack factor for the Remans. Wow. Okay, so they're at their own level for sure. Then you have the folks that are just hovering under that triple-digit number. The Carnivons with 95. Where are you? The ISC with 91. So there's folks that are sort of in that just under 100 factor, and they've got attack factors that match. You've got in the 200s for both the Carnivon and the ISC. And then essentially we go to a whole nother tier of folks that are hovering around the 60 to 50 mark. We've got folks, for example, the Federation at 62, the Hyrdrans at 63, the Gorn at 52, Klingons 63, Lyrans 56, Romulans 57, Tholians 60. These are all, everyone's sort of hovering around that 50 to 60 mark of total ship equivalents. Now, how does that wash out with attack and defense factors? Totally depends on the faction and sort of the competency of their fleets, what ships they can build, basically. But at the end of the day, very interesting to see that kind of split when it comes to ships. Again, the Remans, oh my God, in their own category, without a doubt. All right, let's go real quick over here and dive into the monster mess that was XX-28. So we know that there was a big battle. We know that there was a battle over the capital, but the capital was retaken. So basically, we can see these two massive stacks. Mad stacks. The one in the back is all the crippled ships, essentially. we can see that all those crippled ships are now located on the YDK. The YDK is their biggest and best repair facility. I'll just take away the ships real quick so you can see the bases that are in the area. So for the ISC, this is their biggest weakness: infrastructure and repair capacity. You can see that they have one YDK, which is excellent in the sense that it can repair 8 points of damage per turn. The YBS here that should be finished, I believe, this turn can repair 2 points of damage per turn. So that's a collective repair capacity of 10. However, these ships that they're going to be repairing, if you're repairing a ship that takes 2 points of damage to repair, that's only 5 ships that you can repair total. However, the ISC do have a real good sort of advantage with their YCL, being that it is a 2-point repair. You can do that at YBSs. So 10 points of potential repair capacity in the region, shall we say. And so that's going to limit or restrict the amount of firepower they can sort of get back on the front line. And as you can see, there is quite a stack. I can't quite count it off the top of my head here on the screen, but there is, oh my God, for the YCLs alone, stop doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It looks like 14 YCLs, 2 CAs, 1 CC, 2 DDs, and possibly more. Let's pull up the ISC echelon because we'll see Lawfleet. Oh, there's another YCL there. So they've got quite a collection of crippled YCLs. Great way to take damage. Those ships are beasts. And then, of course, but they have another stack up on the homeworld here. So quite the collection. So they got enforcement. Hold on, let's get this. They've got enforcement, truth, second and third. So enforcement and truth. Enforcement and truth. Truth is a DN. Enforcement fleet is a DN with a prime team. 2 prime teams here with Providence. No, Truth fleet, sorry. And then a CA, 2 CLs, and a DD. And then we've got second and third fleet. Let's see what second and third fleet are holding. Second. I love it when they only put 1 ship in a fleet box. And third fleet. Slightly better. 2 ships in a fleet box. So YCL, YDD. Okay, so we've got, that as far as the fleet counters go. And there's also Order fleet in that hex as well. So Order is a YCA, 4 DDs, and a CL. So what else we got? We got a stack. 2 DDs, a CL. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 DDs in the stack, plus the fleets. So it's 10, 14 destroyers. Obviously, there's 2 dreadnoughts still there. There is a small collection of YCLs. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 YCLs, a frigate, and I think that's pretty much it. But that's just the ISC. We also know that Cerberus fleet is also in that hex. And I'm pretty sure when we looked at Cerberus fleet, it was not small. Wow. Yeah, they've got a dreadnought, a command cruiser, 4 cruisers, 6, 7, 8 destroyers, and 6 frigates with a crippled destroyer as well. So they're not nothing either. So long story short, even though that was such a pivotal battle, the ISC still have significant forces in the area. The question is, how quickly will they be able to repair and get stuff back on the line? Based on the fact that they have limited repair capacity, obviously they'll take advantage of that. But the kicker will be, how can they build and then strategically move new builds into the area? But let's take a look at the Hyrdran and Carnivon side of the map, because obviously this is a balance. So what do we got in the area? We've got, let's look at the Carnivon first. Actually, let's do the Hydrans first because it'll be faster. So we've got Iron, Second, Home, and New. Okay. Metal fleets. So we'll put that there. Hyrdran, Second. Put that there. What was it? Iron, Home, and New. New. Here we go. And Home. All right. So this is what we've got on this hex here. So you can see on this hex, behave. One thing I hate about Vassal doesn't, yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got a YBS, and we've got these fleets, and I'll get to the Carnivon fleet in just a second. So we can see that Iron Fleet, which is the top on that the bigger tab on the left, we've got a YCC, 2 YCCs, a destroyer, what is that, 5? 6 Vols, and a crippled Vol. We've also got 2 DNs, along with a couple more Vols, so that gives us 9 total non-crippled Vols. And we've got this stack of 5 CCs, so that's 7 CCs, 3 DNs, a destroyer, 9 Vols, and of course a ton of cripples. We've got that's 6, 9, 10 crippled Vols, not including the stack that's here, which has 1, 2, 3. So double digit in the crippled Vol category, and just the YCCs alone with the DDs, that's more than enough to be able to sort of hold their ground against this. Plus, we have the Carnivon home fleet. Let's look at Carnivon home fleet real quick. Oh, okay. So we know who took the damage there. So the Carnivon home fleet is a bunch of crippled mess. We have a surviving CC and DN, but everything else has been crippled. The drone bombardment cruisers, the YCAs, the drone bombardment destroyers, and all them frigates, everybody is crippled. So that, I would argue, is not really a threat, but it is a damaged fleet. Interesting. Okay, so purely from the Hyrdran side, when we look at what's in the area, we know, I believe First Fleet is one of those exploration fleets. Let's just confirm that real quick. No, it's not. Well, kind of and no. So First Fleet has a DN and DD, which is not necessarily on its own a huge thing to be worried about militarily, but it's not nothing. And then, of course, these 3 fleets are exploration fleets, and Cobalt and Argon are also exploration fleets. Now, the big thing here is when we looked at the Hyrdran economy, we know they're in exhaustion, so 75% of a 9-point economy. We're basically looking at 7 points of econ that they can spend, and 7 points of economy doesn't do a lot to be able to repair stuff. They also can't really, they don't have the economic capacity to really build a lot of things like bases and things like that anymore. So at this point, they've kind of spent their fleet. They can slowly but surely repair, but it's the economy that's the restricting factor. Not to mention the fact that they probably don't have any. Let's just take away the ships real quick. They don't have any YDKs. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases, and one of these bases has a SIDS of damage. So they don't have the infrastructure to be able to repair the amount of damage that their fleet has suffered. That being said, the Vols are really quick and easy to repair, so they can probably get those Vols up and running fairly easily, especially at the YBSs. But the rest of their fleet is going to take a little bit of time to be able to repair and get back out there. So what does this mean for the Hydrans? With all respect to the Hydrans, this is I don't want to say a crippling, but it is a disabling result in the fact that they've reduced their capacity to be able to contribute to the fight going forward, if that makes sense. However, the same thing has been done to the ISC. The only thing is the ISC still has lots of ships and repair capacity and income remaining. Let's talk about the Carnivon. So the Carnivon have Den Fleet and Fox Skulk 1 in the area. So let's put Fox Skulk 1, which is the top row. Oh, okay. And Den Fleet, I have lots of good feelings about Den Fleet. Interesting. Okay, slide this over and get that over there. Okay, so Fox Skulk, Den Fleet, and then there's a home fleet here. Carnivon home fleet. Okay, wait, we already looked at home fleet. Okay, so when we look at the Carnivon forces in the area, these are the three major fleets that we are sort of concerned about, or not concerned about, but aware that pose a threat, because they are within operational movement of ISC targets. So Fox Skulk and Den Fleet can both reach the capital in one round of movement, not including pinning and all that other stuff. So those two fleets alone could be able to attack that position. So what do they got? They've got a DN, two DNs between the fleets, a YCC, two CAs, and then of course, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so two. I'm going to move this. There we go. Two YCCs, four YCAs. Although one of these. Okay, so one of these YCAs, if I'm reading this note correctly, either the note wasn't removed or it should be crippled and only 2 points of it are repaired. I'm not sure. Question for the Carnivon player about this sort of repair note. Let's assume it's not crippled. So 4 YCAs, a bunch of these drone bombardment cruisers, which are, there's 4 of them. And of course, they do have heel nippers, which are that can be very irritating in combat. We have 4 frigates and a number of prime teams here. So those 2 fleets are not nothing. They're not, I don't believe, but who knows, I don't believe they would be necessarily enough to be able to take back the capital, especially with Cerberus fleet there. However, if they wanted to and they engaged them in another pivotal battle on the home planet or on that home system, then they could do, because of the defending capital defense and the ability for the attacker to focus their attack, I believe that they could take advantage of the capital assault system in the rules, which we can talk about at some point in a later episode. But when you attack a capital system, there's a series of rules around how the defender has to defend it. And effectively, what ends up happening is that the defender has to split their forces amongst what's in the system, which are typically 3 planets. So the system defense, multi-planetary system defense, is difficult, and the attacker has the advantage of being able to pick where they want to focus their attack. They could essentially focus on one planet, then another planet, and then the homeworld. They can make their way to the homeworld eventually, whereas the defender has to effectively split their fleet in half, take one half and spread it evenly amongst all the targets, and then the other half operates like a quick reaction force to support the other locations. So based on that, those 2 fleets could not only cause a lot of damage, further crippling the ISC fleet and their ability to affect more damage on the Carnivon and Hyrdran positions. But depending on the build rate and what the Carnivons have like sort of in their pipeline, and how quickly they can repair and get things back online, I think that could be an effective way to absolutely kneecap and neuter the ISC. The only thing there is Cerberus fleet, and because it's the ISC that would be defending the system. I mean, it is an alliance rule, so I think Cerberus would be part of that defending fleet, and so they would be split up too. But even then, like I say, I think there's a lot of potential for the Carnivon player to do a lot of damage and basically kick butt and take names. Could be very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so that's that's the major thing that's happening on this side of the map. Let's roll down and just check out the Zoid situation. You can see that nicely little colored thing there. So as we were talking about in the galactic news, we have conquest of the Peaceniks. So Zoid has declared independence from the Carnivon overlords, if you want to call it that. And so they've established an independent planet here. The Carnivon will have to send a couple ships over there to pop that small attack freighter or assault freighter and take back the planet, which will suck. But nonetheless, it's it's an interesting little series of events. And as you can see, let's look at sort of like their big picture here. We've got, oh, very interesting. Okay, so as you knew, the combination of the Hyrdran and Carnivon ships were clearing out the fog of war in this area. All part of the plan to facilitate the Klingons coming up the FTZ. So we can see that the FTZ is now, if you remove the ships, it's clear. So we can send ships up that way and, of course, build bases to get up into that area. So that is effectively open for business, you might say. We've got First Reserve and the large exploration freighter continuing the exploration search in this area. You've got a small exploration freighter here doing much of the same. A scattering of ships, which is interesting to see, just like a frigate here and a frigate here. I think just sort of like policing, making sure that this kind of stuff at Zoid doesn't happen. So you got a bunch of sort of frigates randomly positioned. We've got quite a stack on the homeworld here. But of course it's a whole bunch of different things. Let's pull that up. So we've got, stop that. We've got a tug, 2 prime teams, a small exploration freighter, and a frigate. Interesting to note, what is sort of not there. Let's look at the Carnivon system real quick. So we can pull up the capital, and this is what their capital system looks like. So they've got 2 planetary ground bases on the colony, 2 on the minor planet, and then of course they've got 4 on the home system with the YDK. So the YDK, good. So they've got quite a collection of defenses there, but not a huge stack. I think they have not gone through the Juliet, this wormhole that's right here. This wormhole is J, Juliet. So question for the Carnivon player: have you gone through that wormhole? I want to say the answer is no, because I don't think that we've seen you come out on the other side anywhere on the map. So I believe the Juliet wormhole is still a question mark. Will anything come through? Who knows? We've got a collection. We got a tug, a CL, and a YFF at a YDK just north of their capital, and of course a couple crippled frigates. I got to say, when I look at the Carnivon map, the positioning of some of these ships doesn't quite make sense to me. I think it's probably just the movement of those ships, like going up or like moving towards repair capacity. I'm not exactly sure. I will admit it's a little confusing to look at, like, why is that ship there? What is it doing? It doesn't quite make 100% sense to me. But one can never understand the mind of a canine, can we? All right, Diamond Fleet. We got a cruiser, a DD, and 2 FFs. So you can see that the fleet that's guarding the wormhole that goes over to the Lyran side of space, minimally guarded. There is a lot sort of in and around the area. You can see here, obviously, there's a YDK on top of the Hyrdran homeworld, as well as a Hyrdran YBS. We've got a couple frigates and a tug on the Hyrdran side. We've got 3 frigates, a cruiser, a drone bombardment cruiser, and ironically, a Paravian ship that looks like it was captured, a diplomat, and a crippled Vol. So again, when we look at the total number of ships and military assets around this wormhole, it goes to Lyran space, very minimal, which is interesting. I think the total sort of mass of the fleet on the Carnivon side is obviously north of that border and really kind of pushing and putting the pressure on the ISC. As we go to the Klingon border here, we can see that we've got Coyote and... oh, that's interesting. Okay, so let's look at Coyote. Coyote bands. So this is Coyote 1. It looks like, I'm trying to think, it looks like they consolidated on Coyote 1. So we've got a Dreadnought there. We've got 2 YCAs and a drone bombardment cruiser. A CL, a drone bombardment destroyer. What is this? 7 frigates and a prime team. Yeah, so it kind of looks like, that fleet went from Coyote, there was a Fox Skulk fleet here, and it kind of looks like they consolidated it on Coyote. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe there was a couple of ships that sort of cycled out, but I think, yeah, Dreadnought. So yeah, like it looks like they just consolidated on the YDK. I think that was fundamentally in response to my critique last week of, oh, there's a cruiser there on the border. And so on and so forth. So very interesting to note there. What else we got here? So along the border, that's pretty much it for the Carnivons. We've talked about the Hydrans. Let's go into the ISC and Riemann section, and then we'll kind of work our way around the clock. We'll finish off with the Klingons. All right, so the ISC, we talked about the two stacks, basically the stack of cripples and the stack of non-cripples. The non-cripples guarding the capital effectively. As we go up into the rest of ISC space, we can see that there's really there's nothing really up here. We've got a couple little ships here and there, like 3 DDs, a crippled frigate, a tug, looks like a couple CLs sitting on top of this wormhole that goes over to Tholian space, frigate with the DD. Again, not too much on the ISC front. There's not much going on. Justice Fleet is sitting here in an interesting position. Let's just remind ourselves what's in Justice Fleet, which is a CC, 5 DDs in different stacks there. So 5 DDs and a CC. Interesting position. They must be on their way to this area down here. That's my best guess. I would recommend, or I would suggest to everybody trying to move forces around the map like this, strategic movement is your friend. Use it as best as you're able. It'll make things faster. What else do we got? Let's talk about the Riemanns. So what do we got in the Riemanns? Let's go close to the area here around the wormhole and the Hyrdran border. So we can see that the Riemanns continue to push out and extend their attempt to capture more resources. They've still got this planet, and they are pushing out and capturing resources as they move south. Looks like with relatively small fleets. We've got Atlantis and Pegasus fleet hovering here in the FTZ. Let's Riemann. Atlantis, right? Sorry, Atlantia, my mistake, and Pegasus, Riemann. I'm sure it's right there, and I just can't see it. There it is, Pegasus fleet. All right, so those two fleets combined have 3, and 3, 3, and 2. So we've got 6 destroyers, 5 frigates, and a cruiser. So a reasonable little task group, probably designed to stir the pot when it comes to the Hydrans, because again, when we look at what's down in this area here from the Hyrdran and the Carnivon, there's not much. First fleet, again, is that Dreadnought with an escort. The other ones are exploration fleets. And what do we got? A CC with a Carnivon frigate and another frigate and a tug and a frigate. So again, if you combined all these ships and attacked Pegasus and Atlantia fleets, it might be something akin to an equal fight, but not too much to worry about there one way or the other. What else do they have in the area? They've got Columbia fleet. So let's look up Columbia. Ooh, that's more exciting. We've got 3, come on now, play nice, 3 cruisers, 6, 12, 14 destroyers, 4 frigates with 2 of them, 2 other frigates being crippled. So Columbia fleet is an interesting little collection. And then we've got Solar. Is that Solaris? Solaria fleet, which it looks again like another build, cruiser, 3 and 3 destroyers and frigates respectively. And then we've got Pacific, which is just behind on its way down. Let's take a look at Pacifica, excuse me. Again, this goes back to what we were observing last week. The build cycles of the Riemann Empire. 1 cruiser every year, and then they pump out maximum destroyers and frigates respectively. So they're pumping these things out. That's like, I don't know, it looks like a spring and fall build cycle. That's what that looks like there. So we've got that collection. Interesting. Okay, so we've got a real good collection of ships in the area, but they're not actually positioned to cause any specific, like stir any trouble specifically. You can see that they still have a couple of crippled YPCs and that captured E2, KE2 on the wormhole. So I'm not sure what the current status is with the conflict with the Tholians. Interesting. Now, to touch out to Eugene's comment and concern about the stabilized warp signature, we can see the Remans have sent out their KE2 at the edge of their supply. So next turn, it's going to drop onto that and figure out what in the world that is. Hopefully that satisfies all of us and our curiosity to figure out qu'est-ce qui arrive with this stabilized warp signature that's sort of lingering on the edge of explored space. Very interested to find out what that's going to be. Let's take a second and touch base and check in with the chat. Let me pull up. My mouse would be, there we are. And let's pull up the chat. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there was a lot that we just went over there. So let's take a quick breather and dive into the chat and talk about qu'est-ce qui arrive, what is going on, and oh my goodness gracious me, wow, there's quite a bit of chat here. Okay, so we're starting off with John with Orion Skullduggery, big slow target, says, wow, they hit the big fleet in 28? Weird. Thought the idea was to flank. Interesting. Well, I think my 2 cents on that big slow target is that it's all about overwhelming the ISC's ability to repair. And then by doing so, neutering their ability to cause them, the Hydrans and the Carnivon, that is, harm. So we'll see how that works. Eugene, good thing the game uses Vassal. Don't have to worry about a skyscraper stack of ships, that a skyscraper stack of ships will fall over. So true. If we were doing this in real life, watch out. Jim, the big hit was to hurt the fleet, not to win the Hex. Mission accomplished. Bill Linton says, might look at unit summary to get a feel for how much infrastructure plus warships each race has. Now, I will say Bill is a very experienced player when it comes to Federation Empire. He probably knows the ins and outs of Vassal more than most. So we'll take that away. And for those players in the game, check it out. Go into unit summary and see what you can find. Paul Williams, can all be repaired, Jim? Laughing. Yeah, back at XX23. John Tenbrook says, peeps are pushing the barrier on war exhaustion. Going to be interesting to see what happens if they go over the limit. Absolutely. As we mapped out there in the spreadsheet, it's going to be interesting to see how war turns are going to start negatively impacting folks as they are into exhaustion, not only economically and what they can do in the war, but also are they going to start losing some of their planets and so on. So that'll be very interesting. Big slow target. I guess it was smash the big fleets at the front instead of smash the smaller fleets that were further back then, question mark. So in a quick conversation just before we went live, there was a debate on the terminology here. One example, or one way to describe it, was to give the ISC a bloody nose. Break their nose, let it bleed, make them think twice about coming south. Fair enough. However, the Hyrdran player, Jim, wanted to refer to it as a slap. Is that a spanking? Sure. Spanking. Yeah. Because the Hydrans do you dirty like that. Those tentacled fools. I'll let your mind run wild in the dark corners of your imagination. But yes, spanking. That's what the Hydrans like to do. So Jim says, that's the plan. Hydrans don't care. We have 0. But the ISC will be buggered for any future war turns over 40. Hubris. And the long game ISC will be exhausted on turn 71. Oh, interesting. Jim Howard, the only remaining disputed hex is Victor 27. Big slow target. So it did end up being a Carney Hyrdran hit on XX28. Let's just look at the map. XX26, you're saying in the chat. Hold on. XX26. Yeah, XX26 was the capital. So XX26 Whiskey 27, which is the planet right next to it. and retreat to Triple Bravo 28, and then the ISC fleet from XX 28, which was the big stack, moved to XX 26. I'm not sure about those fleet movements because, of course, I didn't see I wasn't like the GM being able to see how those fleets moved and reacted. I think probably what ended up happening is that the remaining non-crippled ships, like you say, moved to reposition themselves on the homeworld to be able to protect that asset. So we'll see how that goes. Bill says, well, some folks have Big E fleets and are about to have M-Tech fleets. So a quick way to clear fleet cap is to use them unto death. Yeah, use them as flak. Just kind of throw them against your enemy and just waste them away. We'll see how that goes. Jim, it achieved the result needed. Eugene, as a captured capital, isn't it just a major planet for the ISC and not subject to capital defense rules? So the capital defense rules is about multi-system defense. So it's not just it's about a multi-planetary system defense. That's really all it's about. So yeah, the capital defense rules in F&E is because the capital system is the only system on the map that has multiple planets. This is a capital hex, and in this game, only capital hexes have more than one planet in one hex. If you decided to position more than one YDK in one hex and they were not mutually located, the exact same rules would apply in the sense that you would have to divide up your fleet between those targets, unless you totally sacrifice one, and then go from there. So I'm not sure if it might be different, if we might interpret it a little differently with YDKs versus planets, because you're defending a population. But that's the rationale or the intent behind that, is that capital systems in this game are the only hexes with more than one planet. Therefore, that's when those rules would kick in. So it's not that it is not your capital, but rather it is a capital hex, and a capital hex has more than one planet in it, if that makes sense. Big slow target, still a multi-system hex, right? That would drive that. Exactly. Just what I said there, big slow target. Del Webb, the Carnivons will be an unfortunate casualty of the Hyrdran's unwillingness to accept peace. Ooh, I think Del is doing a little forecasting there. Bill, yeah, it's just a nice, juicy, yummy world, but Daniel, the GM, has a rule for every time worlds are blown up after the first time they reduce in size. It's true. If you keep devastating a planet back to back to back to back, the population starts to go down because you're blowing out infrastructure, you're killing people. That's the way that cookie crumbles. Big slow target. Is that a D4 cruiser in the Klingon Carnivon neutral zone? Perhaps a violation? We'll talk about that in a moment. But yes. You can't be petty. Really enjoying the live recap. Hope you like the coffee. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, who is this? You can't be petty. That you can't be petty? Thank you for the coffee. You can't be petty. Cheers to you. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Petty. I'm sure Tony enjoyed his drink. My pleasure. I'm trying to learn the game and definitely would love to join on the next campaign. Well, you can't be petty. We would love to have you. We're all about growing this community, getting more players interested and involved, and that's what it's all about. So thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for the coffee. And yes, yes, and yes, when our next campaign gets up and running. My neighbor obviously is doing something very loud out there. Stand by 1 second while I go close another window and continue to sweat. The temperature is rising. Here we go. All right. So thank you, everybody, for those chitty chats. Let's get into a little more discussion and discovery when it comes to our good friends, the Lyrans. Here we go. All right, Lyran Space is looking exciting. What do we got? We got a YSR in the bottom corner here, pushing out from that YBS. Once that YSR opens and explores that hex, I imagine that tug will move forward and be ready to start building. If I am the Lyran player, Chuck, I would recommend moving the tug in concert with the YSR so that as soon as the hex is discovered, you can build right away, assuming you've got the money ready and waiting. Otherwise, you have to move the tug there, wait a turn, and then start the build. Just a lesson learned from my end. But whatever works for you, enemy blood is in that area. What is in enemy's blood? Ooh, somewhere in here. There's got. Am I? Oh, there it is. All right, enemy's blood, as you can see here, is a frigate, a destroyer, a CL, and two, not one but two CAs, just floating around, hanging out at the YBS, enjoying the local bar, the brewery, and the libations of choice. Blood wine from the Klingons, certainly. We've got the exploration cruiser exploring more hexes here, the small exploration freighter here and here, doing their business in the neutral zone. Ooh, let's go up here. We got exciting things. So as per the recap, the monster in the top of Hyrdran or Lyran space is a energy monster, and you're going to need something with scout sensors apparently to be able to figure it out and tune your weapons to be able to hurt it. So I'm curious, what are you going to do? How are you going to get ships up there? And what is that going to look like? Or can you draw it towards oh, you don't have a YBS in the area. Ooh, that'll be interesting. White Stripe Fleet. Let's take a look. White Stripe Fleet. White Stripe Fleet. 4 destroyers, 2 frigates, a CL in the area, and of course the crippled CA. So this is interesting because there is no scout unit or special censored unit in the area. 2 possible solutions. 1, build a base, wait for the monster to come to the base, and or send one of your survey cruisers up there tout de suite. So we'll see what that looks like based on the news that we received. But I'm sure Chuck is actively engaging our GM, Daniel, and figuring out what that looks like. Okay. What else we got? We got Home Fleet here. Home Fleet. Look at that stack of destroyers. Bang. 6, 2 frigates, 2 CLs, 2 WCAs, a YCC, and another 2 sitting there. So 3 YCCs. Not nothing. Floating around their capitale. A little birdie told me something interesting that the Lyrans may or may not be doing. I don't know what it looks like, but what we see on the board may not be what they actually have. And I don't want to reveal it, but I just want to say that we have been approaching the Lyrans from the perspective of, oh, they're kind of quiet in their corner and they're doing their exploration and so on and so forth. And, you know, we watched what they've got along their various borders. However, I have been given the impression that the Lyrans are a predator tensed and ready to pounce. That they have a surprise, a card up their sleeve, a maneuver that we have not anticipated. And so it'll be very interesting. I expect that I have not seen this before. It'll be very interesting to see what Chuck has up his sleeve and how he executes going forward. So I'll be very excited, Chuck, to see how you sort of unpackage this and reveal what it is that you're doing. I'm very excited. What else we got? We got on here, we got a Y. Now that's interesting. So the Y commercial convoy, probably going to the YDK there because it's the closest YDK for the exchange. However, very interesting. What have the Lyrans got in that Far Stars fleet? 2 DDs and 2 FFs. Nothing too exciting, but we do have Hidden Dagger and Bloodstar nearby. Ooh, Hidden Dagger, where are you? Finding these fleets is always just so much fun. I can't describe it to you. Oh, come on now. You've got to be here. Am I not seeing you? Bloodstar. Let's see if we can get Bloodstar. Got Nightstar, Hidden Dragon, Darkstorm, Bloodstar. Goodness gracious. Okay, 3 destroyers in Bloodstar fleet right there. I'll put that down there. And then Hidden Dagger, ironically hidden from me to be able to find it in the menu. Hidden Dagger fleet, there we are. Obviously, I need to be wearing some glasses. Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing here. Okay, we got a Dreadnought, a heavy Dreadnought, a YDH. YCC, YCA, YCL, and a collection of 4 destroyers and 3 frigates. So, not nothing. Between Bloodstar and Hidden Dagger, certainly there's enough to be able to cause some kind of damage. It'll be interesting to see or know what the ability is of the Lyrans to be able to transit wormholes and get supply through them, because if they can, this Kilo wormhole, just as a reminder, shows up over my head where Diamond Fleet is. And we know that based on everything that's happened along the border with the IC, the Carnivon are, or the ships in the area are less robust. So, potentially an opportunity. Who knows? But nonetheless, a very interesting sort of collection of events. And we don't know where the Lyrans are on their research and development when it comes to wormholes. We do know that they discovered wormholes early. In fact, they were one of the first. Where they are on that tech, who knows? We do know they transited the wormhole because, of course, the Carnivons captured their ship and further cemented good relations, he said sarcastically. And so we know that there is research going on or potentially going on in that vein. So we'll see what that looks like. Scrolling down to La Fédération. Oh, yeah. I think I already said this before, but of course, this wormhole uniform is now explored. So we've got supply. And of course, we've got Second Fleet and the tug right there. This interesting derelict. Well, you've got a tug right here, Bill. You can send it down, grab that derelict, and see what's going on. Hopefully, it's not another Orion trap the way that they sprung that on the Gorn, which we'll talk about in a second. But very interesting. I wonder if the derelict will translate into some kind of interesting ship, or will you get a tech boost from it? Very interesting to know. So we can see that we've got on that uniform wormhole, we have a Second Fleet, so fed Second Fleet. Just as a reminder, we still have 5 frigates, 3 cruisers, not nothing. Plus, they've got a YBS there. And the question is, yeah, they're still building that YBS. Okay. As we scroll down the border here, we can see an excellent little source of supply for the Federation as they are moving their way further towards the center. Interesting to note the negotiation of this neutral zone. I do not recall. Of course, my head's in the way. Stand by. Can I move myself out of the way? Oh, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. There we go. See this area right here? This little funnel had not been previously... that wasn't there before, I don't believe. And so that's an interesting addition to the neutral zone negotiations in this area. Interesting to note how it gives the Lyrans still space to sort of move towards maybe the center, but definitely the Federation, it would seem, if they negotiated that, are focused on getting to essentially the center of the map and trying to engage Juggernaut stuff. Maybe they're looking to try and get into or get involved in the sort of the shenanigans. It'll just take forever to get there. But anyways, whether they're funneling themselves towards old Hyrdran space or not, I don't know. But very interesting. And what's it's interesting to note the Tholians have for the first time really negotiated a neutral zone that restricts them more than it opens things up. All their borders so far have been quite straight-edged, like straight across, east to west. This is the first one that's sort of like, and I can understand why, but it's the first time they've sort of made a concession. So interesting to note. As we continue, we can see that we have the collection of ships, basically. We have cruisers with prime teams doing their business, pushing this funnel in to the middle, which is excellent. We can see the infrastructure of bases, very neatly done across the border. It would seem that the Midway is securing all things on, what was the name of this? Gaton, was it? Gaton, there we are. Midway, with their prime team, is securing things on the planet of Gaton. We have 7th Fleet holding steady over the wormhole that leads to the Klingon side of the map. And 7th Fleet is still looking 5 frigates and 2 cruisers. We have cruisers continuing Defiance and Wasp with their prime teams. Oh, you can't quite see that. Let me slide that over. You can see Wasp and Defiance are continuing to explore sort of in this area, in this neck of the woods. And the Ptolemy is a tug. Looks like either they just finished building that base and probably will do some other kind of infrastructure work shortly. Doolittle is working its magic, trying to bring the Kzinti alongside. You can see here that they are now friendly. That is one stop away from happy, and then they're going to join. So when they do join as a minor planet with 3 EP, that'll get the, assuming no other resources are found, and I'm sure there will be in some time, but that'll pop the Federation basically to 50, which brings them sort of in line with the top tier economies of the game. Interesting. As we scroll down into the big red of it all, we've got, okay, let's go around along the border here. We've got exploration, large exploration freighter, another large exploration freighter, and a third large exploration freighter. These three are the spear tip, maybe, or maybe the red tide, we'll call it, as it washes across the map from west to east, unveiling, unearthing, revealing the fog of war hexes as they go. We've got an Orion base here that's kind of populated itself. So we have more base construction happening on the Whiskey wormhole. Interesting to note, just as a quick reminder, the Whiskey wormhole is, let me get rid of the ships and the bases, obviously. So the Whiskey wormhole is right here in ISC space. The November wormhole is the one down that the Remans have access to. So Whiskey is on top, November down below. And it works the same way here. Whiskey on top, November down below. So Whiskey's building their YBS. And on the November, they've got Third Fleet, which I'm pretty sure is not nothing, but I mean, it's not, I wouldn't be scared of this fleet necessarily. 4 cruisers, 3 destroyers, 9 patrol craft, and then a crippled one. So these patrol craft can pinwheel and become just a pain in the butt. I believe the destroyers can do the same, and then of course you've got the cruisers. So this isn't a nothing fleet, especially considering they are at a YDK, and with their ability to pinwheel, this will be a very hard target to move. You better bring more than 2-to-1 ratio of ships to be able to make your way through that obstacle, assuming you wanted to go through the November wormhole. What else we got? We got another Gulf wormhole. For some reason, oh yes, I remember that. But we haven't seen where that pops up on the map. We have no destination for that entry point, which is interesting. What else we got here? We got an R&D team. Oh, this is the capital, of course. So we've got shared research and development. And as I'll slide over, you can see that there is... Oh, don't be that way. We've got... Oh, dear. Slide over. And Green Dragon. So we got a Green Dragon right here. And that is a minor faction that still is hostile to the Tholians. I don't expect the Tholians will take any action to fix that until they have sorted out these guys here, the Kzinti, which are still happy plus a medium planet. And I can only hope and pray that the Tholians are not able to bring them alongside. As we were talking about with economic status, war, limited war, peace, if they are at war, they don't get the peace bonus to their diplomatic role. So if we collectively as players in this game want to restrict or impede their ability to be successful on diplomatic roles, go to war. That's one way to go. Just saying. All right, what else we got? Scrolling down, we have got the Gorn. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Mobile fleet and, okay, so the convoy's still on top of the AA wormhole. Nothing too crazy going on there. I don't know where the derelict was. I'm going to assume where this YCC is, in the sense that the YCC might have gone to investigate and been crippled, hence why it's sort of stranded alone there. Interesting. So we've got Vengeance Fleet, Gorn, named fleets. So Vengeance Fleet has a prime team and the Dreadnought. Excellent. So we've Bill is sort of taking my recommendation about keeping the Prime Team and the Dreadnought separate from their exploration cruiser. Although you've doubled up the exploration cruisers on this hex, which seems like a little redundant. So those two, assuming that Vengeance Fleet doesn't explore this one, then one YSR can go to S35, another one to T35, and away you go, and you're in good stead. Assuming the Romulans, I guess the Romulans would move first. So assuming they for whatever reason wouldn't move to Tango 35, you should be fine. That'll be interesting to see. What else we got? We got 4th Fleet sitting here. Let's pull up 4th Fleet for the Gorn. Boom. So the Gorn have a small fleet, a cruiser, 2 destroyers, and a frigate sitting here on this wormhole doing R&D. Obviously, I think they're continuing their wormhole research. We've got 3rd and 2nd Fleet, which are basically exploration fleets, and Glory, which is the Paravian homeworld. And we can see that this tug probably want to grab this diplomat and head over here to start working on the the diplomatic roles to try and bring them alongside, because that medium planet would be a great little boom. But what am I saying? The Gorn are doing great. They're at 48 on their economy. They don't need my advice. They're doing great, just fine, all by themselves. Speaking of exploration, look at these juggernauts of an exploration force, which is the Romulans. All these legions, which are fleets of cruisers and prime teams off and doing all this exploration. Look at all this craziness. Rules haven't been working out for the Romulans as far as finding resources, but man, are they pushing the edge when it comes to their borders. We can see as we pull back the ships, they've got infrastructure being built, like this base right here, as they continue to push up and up and up. On the bottom end of the map, we've got the same thing happening here. We've got bases under construction and tugs and convoys providing extended supply. We can see 3rd and 8th Legion. What are 3rd and 8th Legion? Just because they seem to be out of position. 3rd, Romulan, 8th, behave, 8th Legion. So 3rd Legion, interesting, is a more substantive force of 2 command cruisers, 4 cruisers, 2 YSNs, and a tug. Interesting. We'll put that over there. And then this is 8th. So 8th would be 2nd. This would be 8th. 10, 9, 8. Cruiser, prime team, escort frigate. Again, exploration group. Maybe they'll be looking to go through this Brain. Anytime you're ready, Brain. Yeah, this wormhole. Thank you. Goodness gracious. And then, of course, we've got this interesting stack here. So 1st Legion is, I'm not sure. I don't feel like they've gone through the wormhole. Okay, so they got their Dreadnought, a command cruiser, and a cruiser, plus a tug and a frigate. And then, of course, these are exploration fleets. So I'm curious as to why they're stacking on this one. Maybe it's just the closest? Yeah, I guess it's the closest one, and they're just going to build bases. I'm assuming this is what's happening. Building bases on the wormholes to prevent anybody potentially going through, or I guess whenever they decide maybe to get wormhole tech, that they'll take advantage of that. So interesting to see how that's sort of all coming out in the wash. Now, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, I will slide us across, and before I jump into the Klingon turn, the next generation, I'm going to just touch into the chat and see what we got. All right. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Boom, boom, boom. Really enjoying, so you can't be petty. Really enjoying the live recap. Hope you like the coffee. Thank you, thank you again. Bill Liddon, Fenn negotiated the neutral zone extensions with the Lyrans and the Tholians to the east. Yes, so I'm very interested to see how that's going to work out, because the Lyrans are a little pinched, understandably, and the Tholians are. And so I think there's a rationale and a reason for that, for sure. I'm just curious as to how that's all going to work out in the end. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so Bill, don't do it. It's a trap. Bum, bum, bum. Eugene, is the November wormhole in Hyrdran space still held by the Tholians, or did the Remans push the Tholians off? Well, as we looked at it, the Tholians had 2 crippled YPCs there, and then the captured Riemann frigate on that hex. So as of today, this moment, turn 70. Welcome to the 70s. The Tholians still have it. The question is, what are the Riemanns going to do? The Riemanns certainly have a lot of ships in the area. Will they be able to go through that wormhole and push through with the stack of ships we saw with the YDK? I don't know that that's feasible. They certainly can. I mean, they've got the numbers. The Riemanns have the numbers. They can move ships into that area and do what they want to do in that regard. But I don't know. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see how that works out. Yeah, but nonetheless, interesting. Okay. And then Jim says Tholian ship still on it, so it's Tholian controlled. Wee. Okay, let's do the reveal of the Klingon turn. Bum. All right, slide over a little bit. All right. As you can see in the bottom of the map, we've got some exploration freighter business going on here. We have an exploration cruiser that is at this planet. The intent is to strategically move him up into this area. That was the whole reason why building this base up here, if you can see that still. So we built this base up here. We're going to start pushing exploration into this edge. And I got to build some more exploration freighters. That's just stuff I got to do. As you can see here, this tug has been moved. It has picked up the colony ship, and next turn it will move it back to the YDK. As before, we've got Joint Task Force Alpha. Joint Task Force Alpha is just a bunch of cripples left over from the Juggernaut encounter in this area. We've got this Y convoy here, nothing too crazy. We've got a commercial convoy coming from the Romulans. This is part of an exchange between us. So this is going to come here, and this F4 is going to basically meet the YCOM and escort it the rest of the way. And there will be I guess the Romulan ship will have the option to, we'll all meet in FF46. So it can move 2 hexes, so 1, 2. And then the F4 will move here. And then the Romulan commercial convoy will go this way. The Klingon commercial convoy will go that way. And we'll work it all out. So YDK here, and the commercial convoy is going back and forth. That's what's going on there. All right, scroll up. We can see here we got the cruiser collection doing its exploration. So we have a discovered hex here, working on business here. We've got an exploration ship here and here. And then to be able to, and I'll just touch on, we got a diplomatic ship here working on improving planetary attitude. But let's talk about the violation, apparently. So I have been in open, as I've discussed, open communication with the Carnivon, talking about sending the ships that we're sending to be able to build bases and get the logistics up the free transit zone. This cruiser, this tug are essentially paired. They're just in these 2 different hexes to try and potentially explore these hexes as they popped in them. They'll be moving into the FTZ shortly, basically the cruiser as an escort for the tug, to be able to facilitate the construction of a base. We have a tug here that, isn't there another one? Oh, anyways, there's a tug here, and the intent is also to move him up into the FTZ and 1-2 punch our base construction in and around that area. So that's the plan. That's the intent. That's how that is going to roll. East Fleet is going to move to basically explore and uncover some of these fog of war hexes to be able to again keep building bases along this border. That is the plan and the intent. And then Joint Task Force Gamma, which is, let's just pull it up. It's basically the remnants from our attack with the, where do I want to put it? I'll put that here. It's the remnants from, or the non-crippled ships from our encounter with the Juggernauts. So you can see here there's basically 10 destroyers and a command cruiser. They're going to be taking position here on this YDK. And that's pretty much it. That was just the extent of their movement range. And yeah, so that they moved as far as they could, and then they'll go to the YDK, and away they go. They actually, you know what, Gamma may move into Sierra 47 just to kind of help with exploration, seeing it's not right on the border. But other than that, we're good and golden. So technically, as was mentioned, the D4, this D4 here, is technically part or a violation of our peace treaty. However, I have already discussed, conversed, and communicated with the Carnivon to let them know that that is happening. And so we're all on the same page and we're all copacetic. So there's no issues, harms, or fouls there. That is what's going on. That's pretty much it. Nothing too much exciting, except for, ladies and gentlemen, it is true. The rumors that you have heard are correct. The Klingon Empire has officially entered the new tech era. We are in M-Tech. Now, the problem is with M-Tech is, especially with the Klingons, Federations suffer from this too, and the Romulans. These factions, because they are so well flushed out in the original game, their M-Sits are quite staggered in the sense that some factions, like the Carnivon, when they go into M-Tech, they get like most of their basically best ships right up front. They're cruisers. I think it's cruisers and frigates. I think it is for them. Or maybe it's cruisers and destroyers. I'm not exactly sure. But either one or the other, they get cruisers and destroyers right up front. And they get like a straight 8 cruiser. And I can't remember if it's a 4-5 or a straight 5 destroyer or frigate, something like that. Anyways, they get very good ships at the very start of M-Tech. When you look at the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans, by example, it doesn't work out that way for them. They get a staggered introduction of ships, and their ships tend to be a little weaker. For example, a D6M D6M meaning middle era. D6 is a straight 7 ship, 7 attack, 7 defense, as opposed to the straight 8 cruiser equivalent from the Carnivon. Interesting. Now, don't get me wrong. There is I think it's an 8-9, which is the D7, which comes later, but that's a late M thing. And so what I'm trying to illustrate or describe, probably quite poorly, and I apologize, is that there is a scattering or a timed release of the good stuff when it comes to Klingons, Feds, Romulans, and some other factions as well. We don't get all the good stuff up front. It takes a while for that stuff to arrive. So what does that mean? M-Tech has arrived for the Klingons. Great. I still don't get all my goodies. I say this as a lesson learned from a previous campaign. For those of you who did watch our Lost Stars campaign before it ended suddenly, you saw me as the Klingons. Basically, I was able to build cruisers, such as the D6. I was able to build basically an overpowered frigate, the E4M, or escort ship, which has a 4 attack, 3 defense. It's incredibly weak, but it is fast, and it has a punch, a 4 attack. I just can't take a hit. And so I built lots of those. Now, those were extremely weak in the grand scheme of things, the E4Ms, that is, and they weren't necessarily the heavy weight that I was looking to have in M-Tech. And in that campaign, the Juggernauts schooled me hard, wiping out wiping out lots of E4Ms and taking out Dreadnoughts in the process. So, yeah, lessons learned. So anyways, all that to say, yes, the next generation of Klingon technology has arrived. And as far as I can tell, we are the first. However, because we're the Klingons, I needed to be first so that I could stay on par with everybody else, because I'm pretty sure that everybody else is going to be getting M-Tech pretty soon. And once they get it, they get all the goodies up front. And I got to wait for my goodies. They're time delayed. So we'll see how that works. We will see how that works. Let me dive into the chat real quick. Oh, Jim's saying I missed something. Hold on. What do we got? Jim, Tony, you missed this earlier 5 resources. No more from the old border. Otherwise, okay. So this is with regards to, as you heard in the news, the galactic news, that there was overtures being made, peace conversations, not debate, Diplomatic overtures were being made about peace between the ISC, the Remans, and the Hyrdran Carnivon Alliance. Or maybe just the Hydrans. And so the question and the discussion was basically, as we look at the map, and I'll bring the map up again, you can see here, let's zoom out so we can get sort of like a macro picture. So when we look at this map, you can see that the red and the yellow are a sort of heart-shaped territory here. This all used to be Hyrdran, right? And you can see that the red and the yellow are diving pretty deep into former Hyrdran space. Now, the Hydrans in the negotiation have taken the approach, as far as I can tell, as far as I've been informed, as far as I know, that they are only willing, in order to go to peace, they will effectively revert back to the pre-war borders, and they will surrender as many and only to a maximum of 5 resources. This seems like a interesting strategy when it comes to negotiating for peace. As the ISC and the Remans currently hold those positions, and it is unlikely at this point, based on what we can see, that especially the Remans, but likely the ISC will be pushed off those resources for any substantial period of time, i.e. they can hold it. It seems strange to try and force a peace solution that sees you get back that territory. However, and this is the trump card, so to speak, that the Hydrans and Carnivons have in their back pocket, is that certainly the ISC are approaching, according to Jim, turn 71. We are in turn 70 now. This is the turn 70 map. So potentially, next turn, according to Jim, in his calculations, the ISC will enter into exhaustion. There'll be over 20 turns of war turns. I don't know that the Remans are, because I think the Remans came in later into the conflict, much like the Carnivon did. I think the Carnivon are probably approaching double digits for war turns, maybe like 8 or 9 or something like that, maybe 10, I don't know. But that's kind of where they're at. And so now that they're entering exhaustion, and the Hydrans are definitely in exhaustion in a deep way, that's the threat. That's the thing. Like, you don't want to go deep into exhaustion, because the longer you go, the harder it'll be to get out. And this is the deal. This is the pressure point. This is the point of pain that I'm solving for you. Give me peace and you can get out of war turns. Okay. Or out of exhaustion, or you can start trying to recover from it. The other strategy, of course, is that you stay at war and you just take more territory and you compensate for your lack of income with taking more resources. That will eventually bite you in the butt when you have to go to peace, because you can only do that for so long. However, in the short term, that seems like an effective strategy. If I'm suffering a 25% decrease in my income, let's do some quick math here. So let's say I am the ISC and I have a 46.5 income. That's my, 46.5 is my total income as of the moment. So I times that by 0.75, that gives me 34.8. So let's just round it up to 35. So let's say I got 35 EP, and I got to basically make up 11 EP to get that difference. What can I take in and around? I'll remove all the ships and bases, and I will zoom in so it's a little easier to see. And let's slide over to the map. So if I'm the ISC, what do I got to take to be able to make up 11 EP? Let's count all the green. All the green that are kind of close to the yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's only 5 AP. And if I would have to go into the Carnivon space or take stuff from the Carnivon, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say I take the thing that Gorn took. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you would have to reach pretty significantly into Carnivon space to be able to take enough EP to balance out the 75. It's quite a reach from the current sort of base of operations, which is the homeworld system, the capital system here. So from a purely money perspective, maybe there's a point to that. If you're able to negotiate, maybe they get their capital back and you keep these resources in the top, maybe that's a way to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you lose the capital system. That's a lot of EP to lose, but I don't know. Maybe it works. I don't know. You tell me. There's a lot of chat going on. I see. Whoa, wow. Here we go. All right. Let's dive in here. So, Jim. Oh my God. Okay, so Paul is laughing and crying as he is wont to do. Jim, it's a strategy to prolong war because of war exhaustion. Jim, for the IC, that is. And that's the whole point, to avoid that the cost is, as I say. Del, they will be turned to dust. Big happy smiley face. Paul continues to laugh, crying while he does so. Laugh as you want, Paul, Jim says. That's the Hyrdran position. Del's like, nope. Jim, go for it. Go for it. The longer I last, the worse it is for you guys. Del, all will be drawn into darkness, because Del, of course, is the space vampire, so it makes sense for him. Paul, I feel sorry for the Carnivons. Oh, yeah, Del says. The Carnies will suffer. Not their fault, though. No, it's not Carnivon space. It's Riemann space. Pah, says Jim. Paul, nope, Tony, my space now. Never, says Jim. Bye-bye, Hydrans. Well, very exciting, very interesting back and forth. And if you like bitter or witty banter like this, then please feel free to join us on the coffee and chat or Discord tier over on Coffee. That link, down below. Or, of course, Patreon, if that's more your style, you can do that. And if you are tech savvy and you want to take your phone and use that QR code, then feel free to do so, and it'll take you to the coffee page as well. But that is the recap for today. Thank you very much for joining us here on Star Trek New Worlds. Very excited to see how this goes forward. Basically, how is the conflict between the Remans and the Tholians going to evolve? How are the ISC going to push back and or hold their position? Did we just see the Hydrans take themselves out of the fight, or will they last any further? And what is going to happen with the Carnivons? Are they going to purge themselves of their previous alliance, or are they going to hold the line and try and keep back the tide of terrible outcomes? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's a very interesting sort of dynamic that's occurring here. And of course, the sneaky Lyrans could always decide to do what they want to do through a wormhole. Who knows? The Federation are constantly pushing and driving towards the center. The Tholians, quiet as they are, did go to war, but I don't see any sort of big ramp up of their economy or anything. We'll see. We'll see. The Goran continue to grow in massive leaps and bounds, now at 48 economy and still exploring fast and furious towards the center. The Romulans, quiet, I would say, sort of very on point for the TNG era Romulans, but considering that we've seen most recently a very aggressive Romulan interpretation from Strange New Worlds, very much in line with the original series Balance of Terror, what's going to happen with these guys? They are quite quiet at the moment, continuing to explore, and of course, building those bonds of friendship with the Klingons as we are exchanging commercial convoys. Speaking of which, Klingons with their new tech, what is that going to mean? What kind of new and exciting toys are going to come off the line? I don't know. Only time will tell. Like I said, I've got delayed gratification when it comes to all my goodies, so we'll see how that works out. One last glance at the chat. Jim, Chuck pokes his nose in, and it will get chopped off. Oh, that sounds like a challenge. Paul, not by you, Jim. Yes, by me, Paul. Big happy smiley face. Del, poor Chuck. He has done nothing to deserve such atrocious commentary. However, you'll have to tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's, 11 o'clock on Saturdays. You can join us here live on this channel to be able to go through things. Oh my goodness. Go through things. Thank you. Can talk eventually. Go through things, Star Trek, turn-based strategy, and of course, in this game. So if you like things that go boom in a sci-fi way, perhaps with a Star Trek flavor, then please feel free to join us next week. And if you have joined us this week, if you have watched this show and you've caught us on the replay, then please consider telling 2 friends and helping us get to that 500 number as we strive towards unlocking the community tab. It's a journey, but we'll get there. Thank you very much, everybody. I will wish you a wonderful, hot, and humid Saturday, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.